Hey, so this video is almost more for me than anyone else because I get asked so often what my favorite Zelda game is or what my top 5 favorite Zelda games are, and I always bounce between a bunch of them. I can never decide definitively which one is number one. And I sat down and I was like, I need to figure it out. I need to know what my favorite Zelda game is so when someone asks me, I don't look stupid, like I don't actually love Zelda, which I clearly do. Like, I always and all, like, I don't know, one of these 10 are my favorite. But I feel like I've done a pretty good job at coming up with my top 5. I'm gonna actually do a top 6 Zelda games that I love. And I love Zelda. I clearly love everything Zelda. So it's my personal list. I'm not saying that any of these games are better than the other games. It's just the games that I personally enjoyed the most, either when I played them or looking back on them now and really sizing them up for what they were at the time, and just my own personal list. So if you guys have your own version of this list, let me know down below. This ain't no definitive Zelda list, and I know that most people disagree with me with my list. I mean, it is what it is. But Zelda, I love Zelda. I clearly love Zelda. I've been collecting for it for years, but before I was even a video game collector, I collected Zelda things. I have a ton of stuff here, a ton of stuff in tubs behind the camera, a ton of stuff in Australia. It really never ends. I have Zelda stuff coming out of my ass, it feels like. Zeldies and Back to the Futures are my 2 favorite franchises of all time. I have Back to the Future little setup behind the camera that you can't see. A huge, deep love for Zelda. And my love for Zelda goes back to my early days. It's helped me through my depression, it helped me through my childhood, and it helps me now, even just finding fun games to play, or just when I'm feeling down and I need to play something to make me feel better, I can put in a Zelda game and it will cheer me up. I have a whole story of my history with Zelda on my channel, which I'll leave at the end of this video and a link in the description for you guys to check out if you want to dive into why I love Zeldies so much. But for now, this is just a more relaxed, a more chilled out video because I just filmed 2 really intense videos and I just need to do something that's not as high energy octane, something that's more just for me and you guys, the fans of the show. My personal top 5, technically 6 Zelda games of all time and the reasons why I love them so much. But without further ado, let's get started. Now, I'm not kidding when I say that this list took effort. It's almost heartbreaking to kind of decide where I want everything to fall and what game I put over what game. I love all of these games with a burning, fiery passion, so having to say that one isn't first breaks my heart, which is why I can never actually definitively say which one is first. Number 6 on this list is Twilight Princess. Now, I adore Twilight Princess. I think it is the darkest, it's one of the darkest, it's not quite as dark as Majora's Mask, but it's one of the darker Zelda games, which I really like. I like the really cartoon, bright and colorful ones, but there's something about the darker looking Zeldas that do have their charm to them. I picked this game up and started playing this game right as I would call myself a hardcore Zelda fan. Because I had played through Ocarina when I was younger, I played through Majora's Mask, and now I sort of become an adolescent, I was moving on with life, I was growing up, I was maybe like 15, 16, and I had my GameCube, which I had bought for myself, and I just bought myself Windwaker with my pocket money. And well, not just, a few years prior, and I loved it so much, and it was at that point that I was buying my own games, I was invested in my own games, and I wanted to keep playing Zelda games. That was my thing. I didn't have any other franchises that I followed. I was a little Zeldies fan. And so Twilight Princess came out, and it was a no-brainer that I was going to pick it up and play it. So that was the first game I played when I realized that Zelda was going to be an integral part of my life from then on forward, and I loved every second of it. I loved every single second of it. Strangely enough, though, it's the one game that I've only played through once. I bought the HD, and I played about half of it, and it's not that I got bored, it's that I just have so much other new stuff to play that I just decided to prioritize that. Same thing happened with Wind Waker HD when it came out. I didn't finish it. I played a lot more of that than Twilight Princess, but I didn't manage to finish it. But I love Twilight Princess, but it felt like a more adult, more grown-up version of Ocarina of Time at the time. That's what I felt like, and yeah, I definitely really enjoyed that game. I know a lot of people put that as their number 1 or their number 2, so I know it's low on this list, but that's where I'm putting it. So at number 5, we have 2 games, actually. I'm gonna put them as 1. I don't know if that's cheating, but it's my list, so screw it. I started with Ocarina of Time, so I didn't play Link to the Past until years later, and I actually played Link to the Past finally worked up enough courage. I don't know why I was going to say that, but I guess it kind of fits in with the whole theme we're going for here. I had enough wisdom to work up the courage to find the power within myself to play Link to the Past after I played Link Between Worlds. I picked that up for 3DS, absolutely freaking loved it. Link Between Worlds is incredible. It is one of the best games I've ever played, and it feels weird putting it at number 5, but it actually was almost at number 4, but I just had to bump it down at the end of the day. It was a direct sequel to Link to the Past, so of course at that point I had to go back and play that, and that blew me away. I knew that game was going to be good. I mean, it had to be, right? Everyone always talks about it, and it's so many people's favorite game. I know Billy, who's cleaning out there right now, it's his favorite game. But I just didn't really even fathom it. Like, I didn't play Super Nintendo when I was younger, so I bought one much later in life, and now picking up games like Chrono Trigger and Earthbound and Link to the Past, it's like, wow, like, these games were intense, man. Like, I grew up on NES, and I skipped Super Nintendo, went straight to 64. I never realized how great Super Nintendo games could be and were. And this was definitely one that shocked me even a few years ago at how great it was. So I want to put these two together because they were very similar experiences for me around the same time of my life. And it's just amazing games. I prefer Link Between Worlds. I mean, I played that one first, and it's what I made me go on and play Link to the Past. But both of those are incredible. Number 5. It feels so weird putting a game like that at number 5. But I mean, I gotta. Number 4 is, and again, this was almost number 5. I switched it at the last second. Number 4 is Majora's Mask. This game is... See, it's so weird for me to put it at number 4. I really had to sit down. I really had to break down what I love about these games, because if you asked me anytime in the last few years what my favorite Zelda game is, if you caught me on a certain day, I might have said this was number 1, which is why I wanted to really make this list, because I wanted to just have something definitive that I at least at one point in my life decided on. I'm gonna put it at number 4 because I guess I enjoyed the other games more, right? Or else I wouldn't have put them there. But this game definitely had so much more going on that that other games didn't. This game was so dark. This game was super dark. This game creeped me out when I was a kid. So much about it creeped me out when I was a kid. The characters, the setting, the overall tone, the theme, the music, the fact that when you failed or when every 3-day cycle, that freaking moon crashed into the planet and wiped everything out, and you had to start again. There was so much that was creepy about this game. This game was hard. I struggled when I was a kid to beat this game. I'm surprised I even did. I remember trying for a long time because I rented this game initially, and I was trying to finish it through renting it, and that was just seriously a bitch to try and get through this thing. But ultimately, growing up, and I mean, even now, I think that game is more in depth, technically better than Ocarina, just for how much it had going on. The only thing, and it's sort of a catch-22, because I feel like this game is better than Ocarina because of how complex and deep and rich and dark it is. But the catch-22 is that mechanic is so frustrating. It leads to so much confusion. And especially if you put the game down for more than a few days, definitely a few weeks, and try going back to it, you'll just be so lost as to where you were and what series of loops you're in and what you need to be doing next. That game was just, it's its own enemy, but in the best way. If you sit down and finish it in one sitting, or not one sitting, but in one pretty close playthrough, and you keep track of everything and you don't screw it up like I managed to every time I try doing a replay through, it is so rewarding. Completely different compared to Ocarina, but it was playing that same Link, that same world, just all messed up. I love all the theories and the fact that Link is, I think it was a game theory video, that Link's actually dead the whole time and he's in purgatory. And I don't know, that game, man, that was definitely enjoyable. But yeah, number 4, love the game. Once again, for the last, I don't know how many years, depending on what day you asked me what my favorite Zelda game is, I could have said Windwaker, because Windwaker, oh man, Windwaker. Windwaker had that same thing for me that Ocarina did. When I first played Ocarina of Time, it was like I was going on this brand new adventure for the first time ever. I'd never played a 3D game before, and I started Ocarina of Time, and it was a whole new world, and I was completely just, that game made me a gamer, and I never thought, now, I mean, not at the time, now, I know that those experiences are fleeting. Picking up a game for the first time and feeling like something is just brand freaking new and having that adventure, that feeling of adventure. I mean, there's games that come closer, games that try, but it's even like a game like Horizon, which is a amazing game, brand new world, machines, nothing like I've really ever played before in terms of concept, but it feels like I've played games like that before. This is just a new setting. It's just so hard to get something fresh. And Wind Waker did that almost immediately, like a few years after Ocarina, because it just made me feel like for the first time I was in this huge world. Like Ocarina did a really great job at making you feel like you were in this huge open world. But there was a lot of going in between areas and loading screens, and also in the grand scheme of things, the actual Hyrule isn't that big. It felt big at the time, but nothing compared to what Wind Waker made you feel. Wind Waker wasn't inherently huge. They hid a lot of things behind the ocean and a lot of tricks to make it feel bigger than what it was, but being a kid, being a teenager, it worked. It made me feel like I had this whole open sea I could explore with all these little islands that had all these little creatures and characters on them, the nooks and crannies that I could explore. It felt like I could go to school and tell kids, my friends, like, I found this, I found that, and I felt like there's no way they could have found it. There's no way they went all the way out to that island and went to the back of it and found this chest, and it was just stuff like that as a younger gamer, but also just what that game made you feel, plus the fact that that game was just really, really fun and amazing in general. I mean, I think there's a statute of limitation on spoilers, but when you kill Ganon in that game and you stab that sword in his head, that was so unexpectedly badass. He turns to stone. And it's one of the coolest video game endings for me, especially growing up. I was like, damn, Link, that was brutal. But yeah, no, that game was that game is amazing. I love Wind Waker so much. That game set standards, and I love that. And I love the story. I love the fact that you start on that little island and you have a sister and she goes missing. It's just different. It's just such a different story. Zelda is like a pirate, and you don't know she's a Zelda for the longest time. You have this weird relationship with her as a pirate. I don't know, that was cool, man. I like that game a lot. Now this is where things got really difficult for me, because picking number ones, I mean, at this point, oh God, see, it's really difficult. Coming in at number 2 is Breath of the Wild, and I don't know how that's gonna go down with a lot of people watching this, but that Breath of the Wild is incredible. It's amazing. That as I said, it's so hard to get that feeling of a brand new adventure these days. And I don't know if it was because I was playing Zelda, because there's nothing really inherently too different about the game to other RPGs or other role-playing games that are out there. I mean, it's obviously like way watered down compared to games like Witcher 3. And as far as the scope of the world, or even what you can do, the things you can do, and not just comparing it to Witcher 3, but like any RPG, any good RPG that's out there, Skyrim, for example. But it was something about, for me at least, playing a Zelda game and having that initial nostalgia thrown in. And I mean, I'm not basing the game on its nostalgia or saying that the game is better than it is because of nostalgia. But it's Nintendo have built this brand over so many years that so many people are invested in, and that's nothing to discredit. That's nothing to take away from the game. Part of the experience is you're playing the next Zelda game. They've worked hard to build a quality franchise over the years, so it does play a part into how much you enjoy the game, especially if you're a fan. So playing that game gave me that same feeling of a brand new adventure, because I was playing Zelda, but I wasn't playing Zelda. It was so out there. It was so different. They mixed things up, which is great. Nintendo's been shaking a lot of things up lately, which they really needed to do, because a lot of things were getting stale, and I just felt like all the changes they made were great. Honestly, the only thing that's stopping this game from hitting number 1 is there was this one thing lacking, and that was story. The story just, it was almost there. We got snippets of a really great story. We got there was a really amazing, huge, elaborate story, and we got these like little tiny 18 chapters or whatever it was of the story, and it really wasn't enough to satisfy me. It wasn't enough for me to get connected to the characters as much as I should have, because the characters were so great. But apart from that, I mean, you're given this huge world, and there's a ton of things that you can do, things that you can play the game for hours and hours and hours and not even realize that you can do unless you're told that you can do them. You can explore every nook and cranny, you can climb pretty much everything, you can go pretty much any way, you can do anything you want. It felt a little empty at times, which is another thing that is really holding it back, but in the grand scheme of things, it's an incredible game that I fell absolutely in love with immediately. I had a smile on my face playing it for the entire playthrough. That I think it was something like 60, 70 hours that I put into it initially, and now I'm up to something like 90 hours, and I would put in more if I could, I just don't have the time, but that was just a brand new Zelda experience in the best way possible. And while I was playing it, I was 100%, this is the best Zelda game. My new number one, and it comes damn close. But looking back on it reflectively as an experience, I don't think anything is ever going to be able to top my actual number one. And at this point, it's seriously no surprise what it is, but let's dive right into number one, which is Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time I've talked about in length in that last video about Zeldies. I also even mentioned it in this one about going on that big adventure, which was really a big part of it. The fact that was like, when I first started realizing that I had depression or that I was down, that game really gave me an out at the time, which was another thing that really helped boost that up to the top spot for me, just personally. But even taking all my personal experiences out of it, for its time, it is amazing. It's an amazing game now. You pick it up on 3DS and play through it now, I dare you not to have fun. But for its time, it was just something really, really special. It was just something that I had definitely never seen before. That feeling of going on an adventure like that in Hyrule Fields to Hyrule Castle, having to save the princess from Ganon, the story that they built, having to switch between Adult Link. You know, like as a kid, I hadn't played a game that long before. I spent hours, like 20 hours or whatever it was, probably longer because I was a stupid kid. And then when I finally thought the game was going to be over, it turns out, nope, you're only halfway through. You pull that thing out and you become Adult Link. And then you walk in this desolate world, which creeped me out. The zombie things were so creepy. The atmosphere completely changed. And now you have a whole new set, a whole new world almost to explore because everything's changed, everything's different. And if you put the sword back in, you get to go back. And you can do things, and you have to like mix with the time traveling stuff to complete the game. And there was just, for me, diving from NES into that game, it was just completely surreal. Loved it so much. And I mean, as you can see, it sparked something inside me that not only became a huge Zelda fascination, a huge Zelda collector, but also just a video gamer. I am a video gamer because of that game. And I don't think anything can dethrone that from a personal aspect. And I mean, your favorite game, whatever your favorite game is, it's from a personal aspect. I doubt anyone out there, I mean, maybe some of you have favorite games because you've dot pointed it out and you've done math calculations and you believe that's the best game of all time and that's why you like it. But I think when it comes down to it, most people like their favorite game of all time because of personal reasons, where they were when they played it, the position they were in when they played it, or just the experience that they personally had. And that game just came at the right time for me. And even taking, as I said, the personal stuff out of it, for its time, that game just was absolutely incredible. And you can still play it now. There's not many 64 games that hold up to this day. There really, really isn't. But both those Zelda games stand the frickin' test of time. No pun intended. Again, this video was because I wanted my own definitive list. But with the amount of people that ask me what my favorite Zelda game is, I thought maybe some of you would like it. So if you've gotten through this far, I really appreciate it. If you're watching this just for my opinion and it's the first video you've seen and you're not subscribed, thank you for watching this. Oh, I just spilt my coffee. I would love if you did subscribe and stuck around for some more videos. Leave a like down below if you liked the video. Just leave a comment. This isn't like, I know I do a lot of videos that are like, 10 Switch games that you must play before now. And obviously those are, I love making those and I wouldn't do them if I didn't love making them. But for the most part, I do them as these big informative videos that I kind of want everyone to find interest in, like people that aren't just subscribers to kind of click on and then, you know, get some more followers, get some more people watching the show, some more people invested in the channel. I mean, that's the name of the game. But something like this is definitely catered more for me and more for the regular viewers and just people that are interested, like generally interested in my opinions about things more than getting information about things, if that makes sense. So I guess what I'm saying is if you're watching this and you're definitely this far in, that y'all are the good ones. Not that there's bad ones, but I love y'all. I'm gonna stop that. I love you. I live in Texas now. I think I have somewhat of a right to say it, but I'm gonna try not to as much as possible. I don't do it on purpose. I really, really, really don't. I do love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't know. You guys are freaking awesome, and you know it. You know it. Leave a like for Zeldies.